Yom Shishis today, Friday, the day before, as we prepare for our Shabbat. And I have a longer lesson. It's not just a talk. It was just burdening my heart. Y'all just gave it to me really fast, and the scriptures started popping out of everywhere. So, I always say, not I say, but the word says as well, but delayed obedience is disobedience. So while my girlfriend is getting herself ready for school this morning, my baby, we're gonna jump right in. And so, where does my first ministry start? And so many things were just popping into my mind this morning as I was getting up, and I'm getting ready to prepare to take my daughter to school. And then I have two of my grandchildren with me, and was kind of mapping out in my head, okay, let me put their lunch here, do this here, do this here. And then my baby has a basketball game today, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to cancel this client so I can get there at this time. Shalom. And y'all just put in my spirit, where does your first ministry start? And I've always said this, and even as a young lady, young child, and young teenage adult, I hated the word. And I'm just going to keep it real. My mother had, after I had Huldah, my first baby, 15, she had got into church. And I hated the word because all she did was recited it and ranted and talked it at me. But the word was never worked out. And so, faith without works is dead. And your word, and Yah says that my word does not return to me void, but it goes forth to accomplish that which I've sent it forth to do. So you just say something to somebody, that's not ministry. So your first ministry is at home. And so things were popping into my mind, and I always think of ministry as a child. Shalom. And in ministry, you got to get dirty sometimes. You got to go through pain. You have to go through cycles. You have to go through gestational stages, giving birth, right? You're giving birth. There's seeds that are being planted. And nobody understands the pain of or the toiling that happens when you're cultivating things. Sometimes you got hard pan. You got to beat the ground up sometimes to get that seed in there. So the first thing we do is when we have a child, or when we've given birth to a child, in our ministries and in our walks and the things that we want to portray or work out, because a lot of us have a heart for ministry, but we don't know how. So we have the theory, but not the practical part. So you have all this head knowledge, and you think since it's in your head, you got it. But no, now the work of knowing and applying what you know is how you minister. So we know that first, when we have a child, we nurse that child. We nurse that child until that child's palate is able to sustain soft foods, vegetables, fruits. See if they're allergic to certain things. See how their bodies respond to certain things. Then we give them solids, and then you give them meat, and you see what it is they desire, and you pique those interests. And when you're teaching a child, you teach them in the style that they learn in, correct? But never deviating from the word. Second, they learn how to crawl. You watch them crawl. You move things out the way. You make sure the floor is clean. You make sure there's nothing there that'll give them infections. And you wash their hands when they're dirty. Ministry is hands-on. When they walk, when they're learning how to walk, first you sit and you might make a barrier or a brigade around them. I would put one parent on the other side and myself on the other side, and we put our feet together, and we just have the baby in between those boundaries and put our arms out. And that child finds their safe place, and they start to walk. And then when they learn how to walk, you hold their hand. And then they want to, I do it. Okay, I'll let you walk, but I might walk behind you and let you think you're being independent, but I'm watching you. And as I'm watching you walk, I correct, right? So I correct, oh, no, don't stop here. Don't pick that up. Don't walk off the curb. We correct as we're walking in ministry. And your first ministry starts at home. And in 1 Timothy 5:8, it says, just going to give you some scripture to back it up, because you see a lot of people running around here talking about they doing ministry, but their houses is raggedy and toe up, their families is falling apart. their husbands and wives are miserable. Because your first ministry started home, and you're so busy ministering, so you say ministering, you forgot about the most important thing, your unit. Yah gives you a unit, a family first, family, and ministry starts at home. And a lot of us, and I hear a lot of people a lot of times say that, they've walked away from their families, or their families aren't talking to them since they got in Torah. I'm going to get to that part too, because a lot of us have become in Torah self-righteous, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. But 1 Timothy 5 and 8 says, and this is not what I said, this is what the word, this is what the Father says. He says, but if anyone does not provide for his own family, especially for those of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than the unbeliever or infidel. So if you don't provide the necessary things, spiritual things, if you don't show them how to do things, because again, a lot of us weren't raised in Torah. So you're talking about you don't talk to your family because they don't understand Torah and they're not listening to this and they're not doing this. If all I've been fed are certain things, then it's my duty now not to alienate my family or alienate myself from my family, unless that's what they say do, or if they just sacrilegious and they hate you and they're going to kill you if you come around. But I'm supposed to walk it out, work it out. Torah is supposed to be worked out. The word goes forth. I cannot be self-righteous, pomp and circumstantial, and turn into a Pharisee and then expect you to like to see me coming. You're not. Because first of all, in family, you're familiar, right? And I'm very familiar with people in my family. Over familiarity can breed contempt. And then when I come with a haughty and uplifted spirit, I don't want to see nobody. I don't want to see you coming because I know what you've done. And a lot of times forgiveness has to take place too, because without any shalem, or without restitution paid and restoration done, because this is a work of reconciliation, there can be no relationship. So again, I said people don't care about how much you know until they know how much you care. Show me how much you care about me, and then your words will be accepted. The next thing I wanted to point on was about what I said about Torah. Torah is a lamp and a light. And so first of all, the self-righteousness and the pride shouldn't come, because Torah is a light that's supposed to search you. Psalms 119 and 105 says, and I'm flipping through. I wrote the notes down, but I want to say it right. I don't want to soundbite or give you a snippet of it. I want to say what the word says. Psalms 119 and 105 says, here we go. Thy word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path. And then it says, 106 says, I have sworn and I will confirm it, that I will keep thy righteous ordinances. And that's 106. And I am exceedingly afflicted. Revive me, O Yah, according to thy word. Revive me. The word Torah is a light and a lamp. So in this, we're supposed to ask Yah to search us. Reveal the darkness in us. Reveal the things, places where we fall short. A lot of us forget about introspection. And, sometimes I might introspect to a fault, because I said, again, when I shut down, or when I go in, or when I'm not talking to anybody, I'm examining my own heart. I'm asking Yah to examine me. Examine me, because first of all, I don't handle this word. I don't handle Torah. I don't handle the walk. I don't handle dealing with other people lightly, because we're all on display, but we call ourselves to come under a greater condemnation if we're lying, or if we're handling this word wrong, because it's not my word. It's Yah's word. And I am just a willing participant and a vessel, and I've opened up my heart and mind, and my desire is to please Yah and the family, and he's put us in certain positions, those of us that are facilitating others with the word, because I'm not a leader. I may facilitate, but I'm not the leader. I follow the leader, and that's Yah, my head. And so I submit myself under his headship. um, we ask for him to renew in me the right spirit. That's Psalms 139, 23 and 24. When we always talk about Dawid or David, we talk about him, mighty warrior, man after Yah's own heart, but made many mistakes, right? But the one thing you love about this man was when he made mistakes or when he failed, he was a man enough to ask for forgiveness, man enough to allow Yah to search him and be corrected, and even cry and weep and cleanse and purge himself of the thing that things that were revealed to him when he sinned. So Psalms 139, 23 and 24 says, "Search me, O Yah, and know my heart. Try me and know my anxious thoughts. And see if there is any hurtful way in me, and lead me in the everlasting way." Wow, that's something, right? Search me and know me, right? Search me and then know me and my anxious. We know anxiousness comes of the fear of the unknown, of the things that I've worried about, the things that I have no control over, that I try to control. That creates anxiety. Speaking to a sister of my sister, and we were talking about anxiousness, about stepping out, and I said, well, you know what? Anxiousness comes when you are worried about what's on the other side of something. And that's natural human nature, because again, we're fine. We're not infinite. We're finite on this end. We don't see things on the other side. We're not omniscient. We don't know what's on the other side of our decisions. But when Yah is leading you, and he says, I will never leave you nor forsake you, and he sure isn't going to lead you into a snare, you can trust him. And that's another thing, knowing his voice. Man, he says, my sheep know my voice. We should, one, know his voice, and the only way to know his voice is to know this word. Because we'll hear plenty of voices throughout the day, plenty of noise throughout the day. But the only words that ring true are the words of the Father. The enemy is a liar. He's not here to serve mankind. He is here to serve himself. And so be careful of self-serving, say it again, self-serving leaders, self-serving people who vlog and all they want is applause and praise and recognition. Beware, beware, beware. Ministry is communal. It's not about one. It's about everything. And the things that are done in the community should be in the best interest of the whole community. Because again, we cannot elevate. We cannot move forward. Try to drive with one flat tire. If it's four, you got four. That one is going to hold you up. You're going to tear up the rim. Eventually, you're going to tear up the whole car. The Torah should not make us self-righteous. So that's what I was just speaking about. Families, friends. I have many friends that still go to Christian churches, but they receive things I say when I've written my cookbook. They receive the clean and unclean food list. So we'll go out to eat and be like, ooh, that ain't on the clean list. So I've watched my friends follow me as I'm following Torah, even when they're in my presence, even if sometimes they still might participate in a holiday or whatever else. They'll come and do the alternatives as well. They'll do the Hanukkah and they'll do Passover because they're observing, and because of the relationship and the love they know that I have for them. They know I'm not going to steer them wrong. I am the artsy fartsy friend. I'm the artistic one. I'm the one that I'll try something new. But they know one thing. They know that I love Yah. And so as I walked from the milk to the fruit, now to the meat of the word, and now to following the commandments, they trust that. But again, that only happens in relationship. Galatians 5:22 and 23 talks about the fruits of the Spirit. Torah should produce in you good fruit, the fruits of the Spirit. love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, self-control. Against these there is no law, because the word is that. It's that's what Yah is trying to cultivate in you. So when you see malice, when you see backbiting, when you see harsh jesting, when you see people going behind one another's backs, whispering, I'm going to do a lesson on that too, diabolos and demonic, what gossip and what secrets are. That's diabolical. And whispering, that's demonic, because if the word is a light, Yah doesn't do things in secret. He says those things that he says he reveals to his friends those things that what he's doing, but the secret things would belong to him. He don't go around whispering. He reveals it, and it's out for all to know. And so these secrets and these backbitings and these private conversations that people have with you about word and what they heard, and they heard a word from Yah, but you're not revealing it to nobody else, and he ain't revealed it to nobody else but you. I'd be scared, right? Obey me and my commandments is the next point. Yeshua says, this is how I know you love me, because you obey me. You obey me and my commandments. John 14, 15 through 31. Yeah, it is. And he says, if you love me, you will keep my commandments. And I will ask the Father, and he will give you another helper, that he may be with you forever. That is the Spirit of truth, whom the world cannot receive, because it does not behold him or know him. But you know him, because he abides with you and will be with you. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you. After a little while, the world will behold me no more, but you will behold me, because I live, you shall live also. You shall also. In that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who has my commandments and keeps them, he it is who loves me. He who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I will love him. And I will disclose myself to him. Is that a secret? I will disclose myself. Full disclosure. Full disclosure. There is no secrecy in ministry, and there is no full disclosure. If the HaMashiach says that he will reveal himself to you, then a lot of us really need to check themselves. I've had to check myself, because I know Yah's given me a command and a charge from a long time ago, and it's been to write, right? And a lot of times I didn't want to do it because I didn't want to expose things about myself. Not per se, because if you ever get a chance to, and hopefully soon I'll meet some more of you, get a chance to be around me, I am very transparent. I'm fun-loving. I laugh. And a lot of my laughter comes from my reality. And my girlfriends will tell you my reality is stranger than fiction sometimes. Some of the stories I'll tell you, couldn't nobody make this up. And so the things that he's told me to share are things that once I start sharing, I wasn't the only one dealing with that. I remember just recently, maybe a few years ago, I kind of not reconciled, but me and a young lady that in school, we were both mean to each other, so to speak. But we had the same personality and same personality traits, but we just clashed, or we guarded ourselves away from each other. But as we got older and we kind of through social media started to talk, she approached me first. She said, I want to apologize for being a butt in high school. Shalom, good morning. And I said, well, okay, thank you. And I was like, likewise, so we kind of talked about some things. So we were both young, teenage mothers, young, finding our way. I had some abuse that happened when I was younger, and I left home when I was 13. So I've been pretty much on my own with the supervision of my elders, my grandmother's sister, my grandmother's sisters, my great aunts, that kind of thing. But pretty much on my own. When you 15 and think you've grown and you live in a house with 70-year-olds, you kind of take advantage of the situation, because a lot of you think you are grown. And by the time I was 17, I was on my own. So those things, and life make you angry, because it's like, well, dang, if my own parent doesn't care about me, why does anybody else? So then you reject and you're mean to people that are genuinely caring. But those are growth processes. And long story short, that's where I had been disobedient, because Yah had told me to be transparent, because what I have overcome can heal. Because then I know girls I went to school with, and I found out later as we talked, and I would see them now on the streets. I see them, I'll go back to my side of town, and I might visit a family member or whatever, and I hug them and I talk to them, and they be like, we're proud of you. We all, but I had a plan. It could have been me. I could have lost my mind because of sexual abuse or verbal abuse or mental abuse or being not loved the way that a parent is supposed to nurture and love a child. But it didn't happen. What it did was, again, it showed me how to love. So full disclosure in the triumphs and the trials and the things that you've overcome creates relationship. And then now we can talk. I always say that, level the playing ground, now we can talk. Young ladies that I mentor and minister to that come to my business, and I've trained them. And because I do apprenticeship training for cosmetology, I am about building entrepreneurship. And I hear a lot of people talk about in the Hebrew community as well, but we got to heal all the communities. And those that are ready to receive, you walk things out to people, people will start picking up the principles and don't know what it is. And then eventually you tell them, hey, you know what I've been teaching you? I've been teaching you Torah. So when you teach, you do things in love. So that is my whole thing. Training, uplifting, mentoring, sharing what I've gone through, what I've overcome with the power of Yah, still being able to stand. Me and my girlfriends were laughing the other day. I said, I don't want to have a meltdown. But I do have many ones. But I was like, why can't I just stay melted? I've tried to go crazy. I can't go crazy because there's a work to do. There's a work to do in the community, in the kingdom. So full disclosure, he says, I've revealed myself to him. And you can go on and read the rest. But I'll read the last two verses, which is 30 and 31 in in John 14. It says, I will not speak much more with you, for the ruler of this world is coming, and he has nothing in me. That's so big. Give me a second. But that the world would know that I love the Father, and as the Father gave me commandment, even so I do. Arise and let us go forth from here. And we know that in between we talk about where he says he's going to leave them peace, and he was talking about sending the helper, and then he said that the ruler of this age was coming, and he has nothing in me. Guess why? Because Yeshua was without sin. So he can't bring up my past. He can't bring up secrets. The enemy loves secrets. He loves lies. So when we conceal and when we don't confess, and not always one to another, but to the Father first, because everything ain't for everybody. Some of our things that have already been confessed to the Father are to be used for ministry to particular people when Yah brings them to you. Divine appointments. There will be divine appointments where you will have a brother or a sister that will come, and they are sent to you for that ministry, for what you've gone through, for what you've overcome, for those secrets and for those things that you have confessed to the Father, and the Father has healed you and helped you overcome. Everything ain't for everybody, but the enemy didn't have anything in Yeshua. But he said, the Father gave me commandment. So the Father gave Yeshua commandment, and he left us with a charge. Follow my commandments. We know that his words did not and will not return to him void. And they didn't. The words that Yah sent forth did go forth and perform, and everything he said came to fruition. He got up. You have to let the words soak in before you can act it out. People's say, like in Matthew 15:8, where he says, they say, Lord, Lord, but their hearts are far from it. says it in Isaiah 2:29-13. It says the same thing. You know, these people's hearts are far from me, but they say and they call on my name. They got the head knowledge, but it hasn't soaked into their heart. You can't give something away that you haven't really got. You just talking. Last but not least, being educated or saying that I know something requires something. It requires application. I can't say I know love and not give love. I can't say I know compassion and not show compassion, right? I can't say that I know how to bake a cake and then the cake come out flat and ugly. It's being educated or knowing. Education is the application of knowledge. Being educated is the application of what I know. So if I'm not applying what I say I know to any situation, I am not educated. I'm a liar. So go back to, where does my first ministry start? My first ministry starts at home. Your children should be able to trust you. Your family should be able to trust that what you're doing is what Yah has called you to do, because you're walking it out in love, in truth, in patience, and in all due diligence to please the Father, not self-pleasing. I'm going to get girl, tell me about it. I'm getting ready to try that. I'm going to pray for me. Show me how to do that. Send me that in my inbox, because I see that, and that is so but girl, you know what? It just lets you know that what Yah is doing is real, because confusion does not come from the Father. And so that ain't nothing. That ain't nothing. I'm staying meditated and prayed up, because there is a bigger work. There is healing that needs to be done. There is brokenness that needs to be fixed in us, in our communities, and in women. And I'm speaking to not mainly, but I am trying to reach my women, because I know a lot of us on the same page have been experiencing some of the same things on different levels, but we are. And in order for a nation to survive, the women have to be strong. Our minds, our hearts, we can't be moved here, there, in different directions by every wind and wave that comes. We have to be rooted in Torah. We have to unite. We have to live in intentionality and integrity and in unity one for another, and just have sisterly and brotherly love, first of all, for each other. Get rid of the isms, the schisms, the light skin, dark skin. She wear her hair like this. She put on lipstick. She must not be in Torah. None of that. Yeah, that we deal with. I'm dealing with this. So I'm getting ready to get my my tribe together. I think I've gone a little bit over, but I love you all. Pray for me as I pray for you, and I might have some good news for some of you guys in the Southern California region. In a little bit, I'm going to talk to my baby girl, my big girl, and I'll let you know. Shalom, shalom, and have a wonderful day. Peace, love, blessings, all that stuff. Bye-bye.